Okay, good morning, everybody. My name is Darrell Grimes. I'm a member of the San Diego State University War Memorial Committee, and on behalf of that entire committee, it's my distinct honor to welcome you to the 29th Annual San Diego State University War Memorial Wreath-Laying Ceremony. This observance continues a solemn tradition of honoring our service members that began more than 80 years ago. During World War II, San Diego State College geography professor Dr. Lauren Post kept the Aztec community connected through the Aztec newsletter. Following the war, members of the Phi Lambda Xi fraternity established the War Memorial, funding it with an initial $50 contribution, and envisioning a memorial as a lasting tribute to their classmates who gave their lives in service to our nation. That gesture has grown into a cherished remembrance, one that we observe every year at homecoming. Homecoming, of course, is a time to reflect on our history, to reconnect with one another, and to honor the legacy of those who have shaped the SDSU community across generations. Today, we take time to remember the brave Aztecs whose names are engraved on the memorial behind me. Students here who answered the call to serve and made the ultimate sacrifice in defense of freedom. We honor them with gratitude, respect, and enduring pride in the values they upheld. I'd now invite you all to stand as SDSU's a cappella group Echoes After Hours perform our national anthem, and please remain standing for our invocation by Reverend Dr. Jim Smith.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched, were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free, and the home of the brave, of the brave.
Invite you all to be seated, if you would. And a simple word before we offer the invocation prayer. We have beautiful flags in front of us, but I'm not sure how many of us are aware that the first flag that flew over a naval vessel for the United States was designed by George and Martha Washington, and it said, "An appeal to heaven." So this is not just a ritual where we have an invocation prayer. It echoes something that's part of our nation's history all the way back to the beginnings. We have a wonderful, wonderful series of holidays ahead of us, Veterans Day ahead. We honor these and others who have fought, some in our own family back to the Revolutionary War. And in that, we also have a weekend in front of us, which is distinct. And very briefly stated, some of us know it's Halloween. It's All Hallows Eve. As I learned here as a religious studies student at San Diego State in the 70s, All Saints' Days and All Souls' Day have been observed on these dates for over 1,000 years. And it's to remember those who have passed, not as over the edge of the cliff, but as a graduation in their own time. So we come to honor these here today, and we give thanks. And on this time entering Dia de los Muertos, we want also to honor those who are among the living. What a great day to say, not only at an altar of life, we're so grateful for your life, but also to say, those among us, we're glad you're around. Thank you. Does that make sense this morning? Let's offer a prayer together, shall we? And I've written it down, not because it's wooden, but because otherwise I'll go on and on as a pastor and as a professor. Let's pray. Gracious God, great Spirit, higher power, loving shepherd, we confess what you know so well. Our understanding is partial. Our motives are often mixed. Our performance imperfect. But as we gather here, we offer simple invocation prayer of please and thank you. In this season, Lord, thank you for many blessings, for the fruitfulness of labors, the gift of life, of love, of beauty. And we especially give thanks for these honored here who are lasting examples of your teaching. Greater love has no one than this, than they lay down their lives for their friends. Thank you for their part in larger victories and their call to us today and each day. And this day we pray your loving embrace for them and for all those who miss them. Thank you. And please, as our greatest commander-in-chief, as eternal Father strong to save, protect those in air, on land, and sea, serving to defend America's best ideals for the good of us all. Please, in today's challenging times, help us to remember the words of President Kennedy, who once stood on this campus. God's work must truly be our own. As veterans of life, at our personal duty stations, Lord, may we more deeply and wisely love and serve you and our neighbors of all kinds. We ask this because yours is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. Amen. Thanks be to God.
Thank you, Reverend Smith, and thank you to Echoes After Hours for that beautiful rendition of the national anthem. At San Diego State University, we're truly grateful to have leaders who not only champion our veterans and military-connected students, but in the case of our first speaker, himself comes from that military-connected community. Please join me in welcoming our Vice President for Student Affairs and Campus Diversity, Dr. Chris Manning.
Well, good morning, everyone. It's always a challenge to follow a pastor because they're so good at what they do, but I'll do my best. I'm honored to be here today on behalf of President De La Torre, who was unable to join us, but sends her warmest regards. So, on a day like this, as a grandchild of two veterans who survived World War II, and a child of a veteran who was in Vietnam 1 year before I was born, and then was also in Desert Storm 6 months before I graduated from high school, I feel the moment very deeply. I remember rifling around the closets in my parents' house, finding the letters that my dad and mom wrote back and forth to each other when they were in Vietnam. And it was interesting because I was like, I didn't know who those people were. They were my parents before I was born. And I still remember writing in my diary entry the Christmas of, that would be 1990, wondering if it was the last Christmas that I would have my dad around. Those small memories are just a tiny glimpse into what so many families have endured. Far too many of them, a kind of wondering that never ends because their loved ones did not come home. Today, this ceremony brings to them, the Gold Star families, the parents, spouses, and children who carry the weight of that loss every single day. We honor their strength, their sacrifice, and their unwavering love for those who served. It's with that sense of shared sacrifice and gratitude that I say it is truly a privilege to welcome you to San Diego State University's 29th Annual War Memorial Ceremony. This event is one of the most meaningful traditions we hold, and I'm grateful to see that so many of you are here to honor and remember those who made the ultimate sacrifice. Now, I want to acknowledge that this year's planning process was not without its challenges. The recent national government shutdown and its impacts on our armed forces created uncertainty. And our plans remained fluid until just a few weeks ago. I am deeply, deeply appreciative of the flexibility and agility of our planning team, and I'm thankful that we can all come together today and show our ongoing support, respect, commitment to our military-connected community. It was 29 years ago next month, November of 1996, that SDSU erected this memorial that's right behind me, designed by former art student Professor Jesus Dominguez. This monument lists and honors the 240 SDSU students who lost their lives in service to our country during military conflicts from World War II to the present. Professor Dominguez designed the broken, jagged top to symbolize the broken lives and untimely deaths of these students. To bring that closer to home, in 2006, our former librarian and historian, Robert Fikes, shared that the average age of death for those listed on the monument was just 25 years old. 3 of them were only 19, and the oldest was just 41. Each lost in the prime of their lives. Seeing their names etched on the memorial behind me is a powerful reminder of the extraordinary courage and sacrifice. It is our duty and honor to recognize and remember them. For over 128 years, SDSU has been San Diego's university. Our identity has been shaped by the communities we serve, and in turn, those communities have been enriched by the university's impact. We often speak about being a trans-border university, reflecting the dynamic Cali-Baja region. But we're also proud to be part of one of the most military-connected cities in the United States. We take great pride in being a military-serving institution. Active duty and veteran service members account for more than 10% of San Diego County's population, roughly 400,000 people. At SDSU, that percentage is even higher. More than 12% of our 41,000 students are military connected. That includes ROTC cadets, active duty service members, veterans, reservists, and importantly, spouses, parents, and children of those who serve. Supporting this community is central to SDSU's mission, and we are proud to be regularly recognized as one of the top universities in the nation for military and veteran-connected students. If you haven't already, I encourage you to connect with our SDSU Military and Veterans Program and learn more about the resources, programs, and initiatives available to support their well-being and future careers. We often say that every SDSU graduate is an Aztec for life. For the 240 individuals listed on this monument, that phrase takes an even deeper meaning. Though this annual ceremony is something that we do every year, we will continue to make sure that they will never be forgotten. To me, they're Aztecs for eternity. Today's ceremony is both a commemoration and a call to remembrance. To honor them, SDSU will continue doing everything possible to prevent future generations from having to make the same sacrifice. I believe strongly that education is one of the most powerful tools for diplomacy and peace, and through academics, we can build international bridges of understanding and collaboration. Ultimately, our goal and our prayer is that we never lose another Aztec and never need to add another name to this memorial. To all who serve or who have served this great country, thank you. Thank you for your courage, your leadership, and your service. And to everyone here this morning, thank you for helping to preserve this memory. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice President Manning. In 2010, the original founders entrusted SDSU alumni with the preservation of this war memorial. Since then, SDU alumni and their board of advisors have helped carry out many of the initiatives our committee proposes regarding this event and the monument itself. We acknowledge and appreciate their support throughout these last 15 years, so at this time, I'd like to welcome the president of the SDSU Alumni Board of Advisors, Brianna Peters.
Thank you, Vice President Manning, and thank you all for joining us here today. To our active duty military and those who are veterans, we extend a special welcome. My name is Brianna Peters, and I am the president of the San Diego State Alumni Board of Advisors. It is with great privilege that I stand before you today and represent SDSU alumni here at the 29th Annual War Memorial Wreath-Laying Ceremony. SDSU alumni has a deep appreciation for all of our military members who have served or who are currently serving. It is an honor for us to maintain this monument and host this annual ceremony. Today holds a very special meaning for me, both as an alumna and a family member of those who have served. My paternal grandfather fought in the Korean War. My maternal grandfather fought in World War II. My uncle served in the Vietnam War. My cousin served in Desert Storm, and my husband is enlisted in the military. Their courage and sacrifices have shaped the way I understand service and duty. It is because of them and the heroism from those across our community that this ceremony is personal to me. The War Memorial is not just a monument of stone. It is a living testimony to the students, friends, and classmates who have walked this campus and then answered the call to serve, some who have never come home. Their absence was felt so deeply by our university community that their peers, fellow alumni, built this monument to ensure that their names and their sacrifices would never be forgotten. Monuments like this one do not exist in every campus across the United States. For us, this monument is a very important part of who we are as a San Diego community. So today and every day, we must honor our Aztec heroes and thank them for making the ultimate sacrifice. Their efforts are never forgotten. I would also like to honor and recognize the people who volunteer and currently serve so that we may stand here in the moment freely. Thank you for your service. As we lay these wreaths today, we do so with gratitude, love, and remembrance, with the promise to keep honoring them year after year with the respect that they deserve. Thank you.
Thank you, Brianna, and thank you again to the entire Alumni Board of Advisors. Now please welcome this year's president of the Student Veterans Organization, Arturo Gorenchik.
Good morning, honored guests, distinguished members of the SDC community, and fellow veterans. Thank you for gathering here today as we come together to honor the enduring legacy of our SDSU alumni who made the ultimate sacrifice in service to our nation. My name is Arturo. I am a senior here at SDSU, a proud 7-year veteran of the United States Navy, and the president of the Student Veteran Organization on campus. This ceremony holds profound meaning for our organization and for the entire military-connected community at SDSU. We understand in a deeply personal way what it means to set aside the comforts of everyday life and take the solemn oath to defend our country. Though we come from many walks of life and each follow different paths into the service, we are united by a common purpose and a shared devotion of the ideals that define our nation. Liberty, freedom, equality, justice, and opportunity. These are not mere words, they are principles worth defending, values worth fighting for, and, as we are reminded today, ideals worth dying for. Behind each name etched on this monument lies the story of a student who once walked these grounds. They attended classes, studying late into the night, and cheering on the Aztecs at football games. They came here to pursue their dreams and aspirations, but when their country called, they answered. With courage and conviction, they traded cap and gown for this uniform of service. Not all were granted the chance to return home, and today we honor their sacrifice and their enduring legacy. Their sacrifice is forever woven into the fabric of this university and into the story of our nation. To my fellow students, as we continue our education and prepare to contribute to our communities and to our world, may we carry forward their legacy with humility and purpose. Let us strive to embody the same sense of duty and devotion they so nobly displayed. And as we approach our 250th anniversary of our nation's founding, let us remember that our freedom has never been free. And to the heroes whose names are engraved here, we will not forget you. Your courage, your service, and your sacrifice continue to guide and inspire us today, tomorrow, and always. Thank you.
Thank you, Arturo, and thank you to the entire Student Veterans Organization that does so much in support of our military and veteran programs and all the campus community. Now it's time for one of our, what we consider the highlights of the program, as each year we sponsor a student writing contest in conjunction with this event, in which the winners each receive a cash prize. Once again, this year, student participation in the event was excellent, and we received literally dozens of outstanding entries. At this time, it's my pleasure to introduce the 3 exceptional winners of this year's writing contest. First up, reading her poem will be Sierra Page, a freshman majoring in criminal justice. Next will be economics junior Andre Camara with his original poem. And finally, Natalie Azell, a Master's of Fine Arts candidate in creative writing, will present her poem, May We Praise. Sierra, please.
"30 years, he was active, fighting for our country, from Pendleton to the Pentagon. 3rd grade, he left. 6 months, overseas, Iraq. Lonely, overwhelming thoughts that my father might not come home. Fear of the things he would see and have to learn to live with, as well as the joy when I saw him walk through those custom stores. I grew up in Virginia, always hoping to move to California, seeing pictures of my parents and the memories that they made. My dad playing rugby with his Marine Corps buddies, and my mom laughing with the military wives. I made it here, SDSU, the origin of my dad's influence and the start of mine. As I walk to class, I often see the statue pointing greatly to the sky, the print etched ever so finely into the detailed granite that firmly stands. Each name representing a person, remembering them, who they were and their legacy here. Students, children, siblings, spouses, and veterans. This memorial emphasizes pain that a life was ended too soon, pain that someone wasn't coming home, and pain that someone was hurt and they couldn't be saved. But it also emphasizes strength through the hardship and commitment to our country, strength to those that have lost their lives fighting for us, and the strength that they've given to us for leaving a forever impact of their service. Thank you.
I passed the SDSU War Memorial on my way to class, earbuds in, coffee cooling. The campus hums with tour groups, skateboards, jacaranda trees, and then the stone asks for quiet. I stop, I read a name, a year, a branch, a life that once lined up for scantrons, grabbed burritos, argued about midterms, someone who stood where I'm standing. The letters are cut deep enough to hold a fingertip. When the sun hits, they glow like a warning and a welcome. I think about the choices I make that no one will etch in granite. Skip a lecture, text a friend back, show up. I might not know their stories in full, but the memorial tells me enough. That a university is also a promise. Learning should widen our circle of care. That courage is not an abstract, that community is kept by memory. So I practice saying their names loudly, softly the way you call roll. I picture the wreath laid down, not to end a sentence, but to keep one going. I picture the families who come back each year and find us here, not looking away. Between bells and names, I learned the lesson I didn't know I signed up for. To use the time they were denied, to be worthy of the quiet they earned. Today I keep walking, lighter and more accountable. Tomorrow I will stop again. Thank you.
May we praise the 240 sons and daughters who lost their lives at war. Leslie, William. May we praise their names etched in granite, their loved ones left behind. John, Edward. May we remember what it is to lose a loved one, to spread their ashes in water. Jack, Paul, Arthur. May we remember the ripples war makes for their children and their children. Francis, Raul, Clinton. May we celebrate their lives, their ambition. Clarence, Victor. Many of them track stars, captains, students who studied hard and aspired to have careers. Isaac, who aspired to have a family. Dennis, who aspired to live long enough to see their service mean something. Charles, Lynn. May we look upon the granite and see our own short lives. Florence, Oscar. May we recognize what a privilege this is, to be here, to be educated, to speak freely without fear of retribution. David, Ray. This American dream they fought for, died for. Thomas, Christian, Jean. May we refuse to give in to detachment, anxiety, desensitization. Lester, Lewis. May we resist otherness, the divisiveness of algorithmic media. Warren, Marx. May we feel connected to our bodies, to each other. Matthew. May we feel the urgency to nurture the earth, the reefs that give us oxygen. Wesley, Samuel. May we praise the 240 soldiers who exist beyond borders, beyond language. Claire, Forrest. May we honor their lives by insisting on it, our human right to be free. Thank you.
Wow. Sierra, Andre, Natalie, thank you all very much for that. Can we get one more round of applause collectively for that? You can see that we make the task even harder for our keynote speaker by making them follow our students each year. But at this time, it's my pleasure to introduce that keynote to take on this unenviable task. Dr. Seth Malios is the Kit and Karen Sickles Endowed Chair in University Heritage and Community Engagement, Professor of Anthropology, Director of San Diego State University's South Coastal Information Center, and University History Curator. With that list of titles, you should not be surprised to learn that Dr. Malios is as knowledgeable and engaged in researching and preserving San Diego State's history as anybody we could have asked to be here today. Since 2012, he's published several books celebrating the rich history of San Diego State University. He also recently served as co-chair of the university's 125th anniversary celebrations, helping to honor SDSU's legacy and the generations of Aztecs who have shaped it. We are very happy that he's joining us here today, so please join me in welcoming Dr. Seth Malios.
Thank you, Daryl. I'm proud to say that I come to this event every year, and I'm deeply honored to speak to you all today. I can think of few rituals on our 128-year-old campus that resonate with more importance, tradition, and reverence than our annual SDSU War Memorial Ceremony. And truth be told, I've always wanted to give this address. I've been working on this for 25 years, so let me be the first to say this speech better be good. On a professional level, as University History Curator, I see it as my duty to let everyone know how San Diego State's deep and historic ties to the armed forces are unlike any other non-military university. It is one of our most definitive characteristics and distinguishes us from all other public institutions of higher education. In fact, San Diego State and the military have been inextricably linked since the school's inception in 1897. Get this, Aztecs have served in every U.S. military conflict since then, including the Spanish-American War, World Wars I and II, Korea, Vietnam, both Gulf Wars, and Afghanistan. Our military tributes are nearly everywhere here on Montezuma Mesa. Join me for a moment on a figurative walk through campus. Don't worry, you can stay seated. Doesn't matter, your footwear's not important. We start here with Professor Jess Dominguez's striking SDSU War Memorial. 25 feet tall, deliberately broken top to symbolize untimely death. The most stark reminder of sacrifice. As you heard earlier, the average age of death of the individuals listed here is 25. But note this, over a third of these individuals were married, and they left behind 50 children. This memorial is continually updated, a reminder of past service and of ongoing strife that requires continued diligence. Now, just to the northeast of us is the Joan and Art Barron Veteran Center, the first veteran center in the entire CSU system. The space is dedicated to assisting military-affiliated students in any and all capacities. It includes the immensely popular Jack McGrory Bunker, named after our celebrated SDSU alum, Marine, and current CSU trustee. And then just across from there, we can head over to University Archives and Special Collections in the Dome Library and check out the Aztec newsletter. It's a set of publications that geography professor Lauren Post, himself a World War I veteran, started in 1942 to keep San Diego State students and their friends and family connected during the war. Long before social media, Dr. Post was the primary hub of communication for Aztecs across the globe. He received over 5,000 letters from our students who were at war. They are all in the library. Some of these, including the one from John Burdett Binkley, were the last words he ever put on paper before perishing in combat. Dr. Post published many of these correspondences with permission in 48 different monthly newsletters and sent out for free to thousands of readers. No other university in the nation has such a locally personalized yet massive collection of war letters. Next, we walk a little north. Let's visit Hardy Memorial Tower. Not Hardy Tower, Hardy Memorial Tower. The tower and the iconic chimes within are both military monuments. On Christmas Day of 1946, Colonel Ed Fletcher donated the original 25 chimes for the campanile in honor of all San Diego State students, faculty, and staff killed in military action. Hardy Memorial Tower has two different plaques commemorating military service and sacrifice, one honoring those who perished in World War II, and a second for those who died in the Korean War. Then we go due west and we'll check out Charles Hostler Hall, named after the renowned Air Force general. Now, Hostler's autobiography reads like a thrilling spy novel, but it's all true. If you can believe it, he smuggled pro-democracy leaders out of Romania in giant mail sacks. General Hostler's biography includes storming the beaches of Normandy on D-Day, counter-espionage operations for the Office of Strategic Services, the precursor to the CIA, and being awarded both the French Legion of Honor and a Purple Heart. From there, we walk a little south to Scripps Cottage. At the east edge of the beautiful koi pond is a 35-foot sycamore tree with a plaque. This is the SDSU Freedom Tree. It is a memorial in honor of Lieutenant Colonel Charles Scharf and all prisoners of war and service people missing in action. Scharf, a San Diego State alum, was a member of the 47th Tactical Fighter Squadron. He and his navigator were shot down on October 1st, 1965, on a mission over Hanoi, Vietnam. Both men were reported missing in action. The memorial tree was planted on campus in their honor in 1973, but our story does not end there. Scharf's family never gave up on the search for him. In fact, his remains were found through excavations at a Vietnamese crash site in 2006. Forensic scientists were able to positively match the DNA in the bones they found with DNA from dried saliva on the back of the stamps attached to personal letters that Charles Scharf had sent his wife Patricia nearly half a century earlier. On November 30th, 2006, Scharf's remains were buried with full military honors at Arlington National Cemetery. He was posthumously promoted to colonel and awarded the Distinguished Flying Cross and Purple Heart. And now on our way back here, let's go through the Exercise and Nutritional Sciences building, home to SDSU's ROTC. The ENS building was where professor and SDSU alumna Jean Landis had her office. Landis graduated from State in 1940 and promptly joined the Civilian Pilot Training Program. She was then selected for the Women Air Force Service Pilots, or WASPs. These were the nation's first female military pilots. Jean and fellow Aztecs Irene Kin England, Frances Coughlin, and Ruth Lindley flew non-combat missions for the duration of World War II. They would ultimately receive the Congressional Gold Medal. There's an award-winning documentary about Jean Landis, who passed away in 2022 at the age of 104. It is simply called She Wore Silver Wings. As you can see, military service and memorialization are embedded throughout our SDSU campus. I will now list all other non-military public universities that have separate memorials to veterans who served in World War II, Korea, and Vietnam. There are none. It's just us. That's right, it's no coincidence that we are consistently recognized as a top university for veterans, military members, and their families. As you heard, over 12% of our students are military affiliated. This is 5 times the CSU average, and our students use the GI Bill at triple the CSU norm. But this is a personal event for me as well. My maternal grandfather, Jack Rubin, served in World War II. He was in the 355th Infantry Regiment, part of the 89th Infantry Division. They marched through Germany and liberated the Ohrdruf concentration camp on April 3rd, 1945. Let me tell you about Grandpa Jack. He was patient, kind, and a gentle soul. He always reminded my daughter Gabby of a rabbit. As a young man, Jack studied economics and then meteorology and seemed destined to be a weatherman. My grandfather was Jewish, descended from Eastern European Ashkenazi Jews. And there he was at age 24 in 1945 as one of the first Americans to see towering piles of concentration camp corpses near his ancestral homeland. At the time, the world was still unaware of the devastating breadth of the Holocaust. There was no way to prepare this young corporal for the thousands of lifeless bodies he encountered that day. Now, Jack was equally skilled with a rifle and a camera. The incredibly important, yet absolutely horrifying pictures he took of Ohrdruf are in the U.S. Holocaust Memorial Museum so that we will never forget. Jack was forever changed by his experience in Germany. He ended up becoming a psychologist. Someone else would have to forecast the weather because Jack had a new mission in life. Scarred by genocide, he found his calling in helping others heal from trauma. Jack died in 2022. Now, service, duty, and honor are timeless terms that often get invoked at memorial services, but memory of valiant acts is not enough. We must tie these lofty ideals to personal action, and it must be personal action for the public good, not for the individual. When Thomas Jefferson wrote the first draft of the U.S. Declaration of Independence regarding our inalienable rights, he penned the words, "Life, liberty, and the pursuit of public happiness." Public happiness. Jefferson was not alluding to personal or private contentment. He pointed to happiness as satisfaction through moral living for the greater good of society. But fellow nation founder and all too active editor Benjamin Franklin responded to Jefferson's draft with the observation that it was common knowledge of the time that public happiness, generosity and empathy towards fellow citizens, well, that was happiness. So Franklin convinced Jefferson that including the word public was redundant. So it was cut from the Declaration of Independence. Boy, do I wish Thomas Jefferson had left in the word public. I don't care which side of the political aisle you're on. For me, true patriotism, true duty to the Constitution, true American service never puts personal, financial, or political gain ahead of the public good. Service for others is the American way, and it was always intended to be that way. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was a champion about moral intentionality in decisions and our actions. He gave a public address right over there at the Open Air Theater in late May of 1964. It was known then as the Greek Bowl. Dr. King spoke of service in every deed, telling San Diegans, quote, "If it falls your lot to be a street sweeper, sweep streets like Michelangelo painted pictures, sweep streets like Beethoven composed music, sweep streets like Shakespeare composed poetry, sweep streets so well that all the host of heaven and earth will have to pause and say, 'Here lived a great street sweeper who swept his job so well.'" Without a doubt, the most famous words ever spoken on this campus were by President John F. Kennedy's, whose ideas still have relevance today. JFK told the graduating class of 1963 at Aztec Bowl, just over there, "No country can possibly move ahead. No free society can possibly be sustained unless it has an educated citizenry." Our mission statement at SDSU begins with education. Regardless of whether you're an administrator, faculty, or staff, it doesn't matter the college or division, our primary actions here must always be centered on the teaching of others. And it was San Diego State President Stephen Weber who presided over the first SDSU War Memorial Ceremony. Steve, who also recently passed, loved to invoke Aristotle's definition of excellence. Ever the philosopher, Dr. Weber quoted Greek classics with regularity, insisted to us all that, quote, "We are what we repeatedly do." Excellence, therefore, is not an act, but a habit. My final unifying thought here is very simple. Let us honor the sacrifice of those memorialized here on this deliberately broken monolith and across our wonderful campus with more than kind words, more than lovely flowers, more than even this amazing annual ceremony. Let us honor their sacrifice and the continued service of our military personnel with urgency in our every action. Let us serve the greater good, not our own personal gain, in our repeated and intentional actions. Our history, it shows us how. And our agency is needed now more than ever. Thank you.
Dr. Malios, thank you for those moving words, and thank you even more for that charge to go forward and serve this community and our nation. We'll now proceed to the wreath-laying portion of the program, so I invite all of you who have brought floral tributes to present to please assemble in the back wreath-laying area. Our first wreath, presented on behalf of SDSU alumni, will be presented by Air Force Colonel Marty Watiziak. Our next wreath, presented on behalf of Military and Veterans Programs by Eliza East. Our next wreath is presented by the Center for War and Society at SDSU by Pierre Asselin. Our next wreath is presented by Sharp Hospice Care, We Honor Veterans by Gil Harrison. And our final wreath is presented by the Center for University Heritage and Community Engagement by Shannon Farnsworth and Jamie Bestiti. Thank you to all our presenters. At this point in the program, representatives of our Student Veterans Organization will recognize each member on the memorial by name and place bouquets totaling 240 red roses as a remembrance and personal tribute to each one of them. At the conclusion of the reading of the names, we'll ask that you please rise and remain silent as taps is performed by SDSU student musician Alexandra Hoffman.
For World War II, 1941 to 1945, John E. Abbott, Raymond L. Adair, Herman H. Adelson, Robert N. Albert, James N. Almus, Martin F. Anderson, Thomas Aurelio Jr., Roger W. Armbruster, Richard D. Albert, Alan R. Bailey, Richard H. Bailey, William E. Baldwin, Joe M. Barkley, John W. Bassett, William C. Bassett, John I. Beck, Claire V. Burdell, Jack N. Berg, J. Burdett Binkley, John W. Borum, Frank S. Bastet, Forrest P. Brown, Maxton Brown, Warren W. Brown, Richard W. Birch, Jack Burgess, Bruce Van Burskick, John C. Butler, Raul Cayo, Wesley E. Carter, Dennis R. Chamberlain, Gordon C. Chamberlain, Richard R. Clark, Richard Wilson Clark, Richard Wilton Clark, Robert C. Chatrain, Thomas C. Cozine, Harold D. Curry, George D. Dow, Thomas J. Davies.
Edward B. Davis, Sherman Denny, Charles Dowell, Leslie W. Duvall, Wesley P. Eby, Howard J. Engel, Clifford G. Ederman, George R. Ewing, Edelbert Faulconer, Paul A. Fern, Don L. Fidney, Gilbert O. Fitzel, Howard Flisserin, John J. Frazier, Claude Freakerson, Jack Frost, Robert M. Fuller, Lehman J. Gage, Joseph N. Gates, Clinton B. Gaddy, Al Godell, William S. Goodchild, Robert Daniel Graham, Robert A. Griffith, Frank J. Gasty, Stanley D. Gu, George E. Hammond, Warren E. Han, James C. Hardin, William S. Hardshaw, Mason Harris, William Headington, Edward L. Imblum, Douglas A. Jacks, Kenneth L. Johnson, Paul W. Johnston, Charles P. Jones, Richard F. Cates, Arthur J. Kelly, James D. Coaster.
Paul Kramer, Robert J. Landis, Wendell E. Langford, James G. Leonard, Alan F. Levine, Jack Maeda, Howard E. McBride, Lyle G. McLaughlin, John B. McGrew, George R. Moore, Francis H. Moore, Ray E. Moore, Kenneth B. Moyer, Raymond W. Mueller, Russell Newberry, John E. Nolan, Frank D. Oliver, Donald C. Owen, James R. Parks, Royal A. Parks, Sam J. Patella, Robert G. Peterson, A. Milky Phelps, Leo Poole, Craig Potter, Gilbert Kwan, Lena E. Rogers, Kramer W. Rohrig, George D. Rosado, Richard W. Roth, James Roth, Francis R. Ryan, Alvin D. Sachs, William E. Sage, James Samuels, Joseph H. Savage, Richard J. Sawaya, Edward L. Cyril III, Maxwell S. Sherwood, Bill B. Shropshire.
Fred Simpson, Faffel Simpson, Paul Saraton, Thomas A. Skinner, Carrie B. Smith, Frederick B. Smith, Robert H. Smith, Samuel C. Spade, John F. Stevenson, Victor R. Talbot, William H. Taylor, Ross A. Tinney, Clarence F. Terry, Alan Thomas, Jerry E. Thomas, Walter L. Teichner, Parker Totten, Thomas L. Taylor, Frank R. Verduzco, John H. Holt, John T. Vogt, Peter L. Voltz, Russell D. Wahlberg, Mark P. Wagner, David A. Weber, Lawrence J. Werner, Clarence White, Clee E. Williams, Robert James Williams, Maurice G. Wilson, Lewis M. Wynn Jr., Charles M. Witt, William T. Wood, Korean War, 1950 through 1953, John H. Adams, Isaac S. Best, Byron H. Chase, Kenneth W. Cox, Robert Dowdy, Norman N. Freeman, Hiram G. Gottfelder.
Donald H. Hagg, Robert G. Harvey, Charles C. Kinney, William R. Lake, Donald W. McCormick, Charles R. Miller, Leroy A. Morgan, Jr., Robert C. Nita, Thomas H. O'Brien, Lester F. Page, William R. Patton, Richard Phillips, George C. Pierce, Jr., Willis Preston Smith, Herbert L. Tompkins, Robert Joseph Williams, Vietnam War, 1961 to 1973. Francis A. Barnes, Gerald D. Bell, Howard R. Bowling, William J. Bradshear, Ronald H. Brown, Michael T. Burns, Daniel L. Carrier, Rodney B. Carter, Robert Kahn Chadorn, David M. Christian, Michael J. Crawford, James P. Crook, Darrell W. Crum, Donald L. Davidson, Richard A. Delady, Thomas F. Durbin, Lauren E. Ingstrom, John L. Finn, Robert M. Foley, Ralph E. Fox, Jr., Peter W. Gilmore, Larry Himmer, Henry Hudson, Jr., Dennis A. Jenkins.
Stephen D. Joyner, Frederick M. Cash, Robert B. Coleridge, Kenneth J. Lamberton, James F. Lang, John J. Lewandowski, Victor W. Liu, John P. Markin, Jr., Jeffrey L. Martin, James M. Mitchell, Jr., Ronald E. Morgan, Maurice C. Morrill, William C. Neistel, Charles L. Parker, Jr., George W. Pearson, Jr., Walter J. Peters, Terry W. Ratcliffe, Eugene L. Rathman, Gerald R. Roberts, Robert W. Romero, David J. Rose, Paul W. Rose, Gerald M. Rumble III, Richard L. Russell, Charles J. Schaff, John W. Tunnell, John A. Vaught, Williams E. Walters, George W. Ward, Euless N.B. Wilkes Jr., Gene T. Wright. Afghanistan-Iraq War 2001 to 2021, Matthew G. Alexson, Florence Bakong Cho, Jason W. Davis, Christian J. Hescock, Oscar A. Jimenez, Andrew D. Lamont, Justin L. O'Donohue, Jason J. Paitner, Thomas E. Retzer. This concludes the reading of the names. Please stand.
Please be seated. As we conclude this year's remembrance, we want to thank all the donors whose support of all this ceremony and all of our military and veterans programs makes all of this possible. Thank you very much for your generosity. I also want to offer my thanks to my fellow members of the SDSU War Memorial Committee who helped plan throughout the year for this event. We're grateful for their time and expertise to ensure we appropriately honor these men and women each year. Special thanks, of course, to Dr. Malios for his inspiring speech, as well as to our wreath and tribute presenters, student readers, and musical performers. And thank you to everyone who came out this morning to remember and salute these fallen Aztecs. This concludes our ceremony today. I'd like to invite you all to please join us for a reception just across Centennial Walkway at the Joan and Art Barron Veterans Center, hosted by Military and Veterans Programs. Thank you all again for attending.